Oh man, did you catch any of the Phillies game?
Were they playing today?
They were.
I mean, I was in the office, and then I got home and I was teaching a lesson, and now I'm here.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, no, Phillies played. They were. It was very interesting because Taiwan Walker started.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, he was a former Met. We've had him for a few years now. And last year he was just awful. I mean, 7+ ERA.
Okay. Was he always a starting pitcher, or was he a relief guy?
No, he was a starting pitcher.
Okay.
And he was not supposed to be on the rotation this year, but uh Ranger is starting on the IL with like a back thing, I think.
Oh, okay.
So he pitched today. And he pitched 6 shutout innings of like gem baseball. And I was like,
Nice.
What?
Okay.
Like, dude, it was crazy. I've been listening to like sports radio just during the day because it's something I can just like tune and not have to worry about.
Mhm.
And they were just ripping him all morning.
Really?
All morning. So I listened to the first album for today.
Mhm.
And then I was like, all right, I need a little bit of a break from music because I need a break. And I listened and they're just ripping him for like half hour. And then I'm like, I get it. I do get
Sure.
it. And then he's
But
like,
it would be nice if
Kyle Schwarber also hit a ball that I'm still waiting to land.
Oh, okay, good. It's about time.
I mean, dear.
It's been like 2 games.
Yeah, right? I mean, true. He literally smoked it. Like, it was like right center field,
Mhm.
like upper deck, 440.
Yeah, that's that's lengthy.
It certainly was.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was watching, I guess it was the first game of the Rockies series,
Yeah.
when I came home from work on Monday or whenever that was. And I was on the treadmill, hanging out with my dad in the exercise room watching the game. And it's the first time I've really been like doing nothing else but watching the Phillies in a while.
Yeah.
And the entire thing is an advertisement now. Like, even the banter that Tom McCarthy's go like just between pitches, like, yeah, Citizens Bank has been such a great partner for the Phillies, and they're always so active, and they're doing this. And then they cut to whatever the girl in the stands is, and she's selling beers,
Yeah.
and it's like, is there a single moment that's just the game and not an advertisement anymore? It's like way worse than it ever was when we were in like high school and college.
Oh, it
It's like
is.
insane. Like,
It
going from
is.
watching it heavily in that era to not really watching it at all, to sitting through a full game, the difference in how much it is just totally an advertisement is astounding.
Yeah, the 2 things that bug me, I mean, the only reason I don't mind Tom McCarthy, but I listen, like, if I'm gonna watch the
Mhm.
game, I watch it for Kruk. Like, John
Oh, well,
Kruk
yeah.
is off the rails, dude. He's so funny. But I'll listen to it too because I like the radio a little better. Same with
Sure.
football. I mean, really. But like, yeah, you're not wrong. Once we officially lost the battle of everything is a sponsored thing, I knew
Yeah,
it was over.
everything
Like,
goes
now
over.
there's no, like, when the starter gets called into the bullpen,
Mhm. Yes,
it's the
it's the
Nissan call
Nissan
to the
call to the
pen.
pen. Yeah, and it's like,
Like,
and there was like the Toyota RAV 4th
yeah,
inning
they're at 4th
stretch.
inning.
It's like, what? What, the 4th inning is sponsored now? What?
Yeah,
Like, I wanted to fucking kill myself watching that.
I know. And they
Just,
always
like, the capitalism of it made me so angry.
well, I get it. I do get it. Yeah, and they always talk about, there's
Like the
something there.
sports betting episode, right, Keith?
Yeah,
It must
might
have
as
been.
well be.
Yeah.
That's the real thing.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. That's the real thing, though. It is all just a marketing for sports betting now.
Everything.
Every bit of it. Once that dam got broken where sports stopped acting like sports betting didn't exist, it's now every second. I mean, you think it's bad with football. It's
Oh,
just as
yeah.
bad with baseball.
But
It,
it's but, like, in football, you don't have, like, the Toyota 4Runner 4th down every time there's a fucking
no,
4th
that's true.
down. Like, it's not like, "Oh, that was a 1st and 7 brought to you by." It's like, "Okay, hold on."
I did see, speaking of football, I did see a thing. I've not confirmed the validity of it, so it could be bullshit. But apparently Scott Hansen is going to be the voice of like the announcer for Madden, the new
Oh,
Madden,
interesting.
which I am interested in that because I think they need to change. Like
Okay. Yeah, I don't know who's been doing it since
I don't remember.
2015 is
Yeah.
the most recent one that I'm familiar with,
That's fair. That's fair.
which is 10 years now. Yikes.
Why do you gotta say stuff
And at
like
the
that?
time, I was like, yeah, this is really 2015. That's 5 years after we graduated high school. That's recent. Nope, that was 10 years ago
That was
because it's
10
been
years ago.
15 years since we graduated.
Ugh.
15 years. We're like real close to have spent more life out of more of our lives out of school than in it.
I know. That's pretty nuts. I mean, you know, at least it's going so well.
Yeah, couldn't be going better.
Like truly, it's so interesting. I'm nervous. Give me a second.
Okay, sure. Oh boy. I'm not sure how to feel about this, but hopefully it's all resolved soon. Okay, it seems like it's fine. It's definitely fine. Nobody worry. You're muted if you think you're talking to me.
Okay. All right, you're on now.
Okay.
Nick.
Yes.
That was very rude. How dare you bring up how old we are?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Keith, I am so sorry. None of that happened. We graduated yesterday.
If he responded, I cannot hear him.
Oh yeah, you can't hear him, but he is he's apologizing profusely to you, Keith.
Okay. Noted. Thank you. I will now continue being an audience member. Goodbye.
I love that. We've never had anyone call into the show before.
Honestly, I could do call-ins.
Yeah, you're line one. Just call your personal cell phone. You're line one.
I mean, I just kicked my phone and I'm really like sewn into this setup.
I see.
So like the fact that my phone fell is a nightmare for me.
I can tell. And you're a lot more agile than you were.
Oh yeah, it's just the fact that, all right, y'all, I'm not really in a freaking studio. This is a blue screen, but it's like right behind me.
Okay, so you're like crunched.
Yeah. Where is a way? Okay. I might just have to, all right, give me a second.
Okay, take your time.
I need access to my phone. I told you know why.
Are you wearing pants? Yeah, I know, right? This is really exciting. Okay, he's got his phone, everyone.
All right.
Okay, we were boring Keith. He's gonna leave.
Yeah. Shut up.
Now that you have your phone, should we start?
Yeah, I'm down to start. All right.
Excellent.
You should count in first.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, buddy.
Oh man.
What are you doing?
I mean,
Nick, I mean, seriously, yeah. What's happening here?
I wasn't prepared. I was very ill prepared, and I'm clearly.
You're the one who told me that both of the bands from this episode could kill us.
Yes, technically that's.
You told me that last week when we did the episode.
Yeah, you're right. This could be very dangerous for our health, but we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I figured I would just be prepared.
You really threw me off with that. I was not ready.
I'm shocked you had one within arm's reach.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of doctor's appointments and whatnot recently.
That makes sense. You got to keep it safe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was no chance you were getting me to sing a song from at least one of these artists.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was one choice that I thought that you might go with this week, but
Yeah, I thought that would be better.
yeah,
gotta
I
mix it
liked
up.
it. I liked it.
You got to mix it up. And plus,
I'm with it.
I mean, I'll be real with you.
Please,
What the fuck else am I using these for right now? I mean,
nothing.
But I haven't thrown.
I mean,
it
like
away.
I just, you encounter a sick person every once in a while, and you're going to be in close quarters.
Yeah, well, then I have N95s.
Okay. Sure.
We bought a bunch of these. Like, I would wear these over an N95 at work.
Okay.
So it was like a little more normal looking, slightly more normal looking than just an N95 and rubber gloves and the whole 9 yards back in the day.
Times. I remember it well.
Yeah. One of the few things that predates the podcast is that, because that.
Yeah, you're right.
Not by a lot. Podcast started almost because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and nothing happened before that. So I would count this.
Time ceased to exist, or time started to exist after the podcast started.
Yeah, I agree.
Which makes the episode very interesting because we're going to be talking about years that didn't exist then.
Yeah. Well, they're just, in BP.
Yeah.
Those are like BP 15 or whatever.
Perfect. I love it. I will not be subtracting the start of the podcast date like they do with BC.
Sure.
That's not happening. We're not. No. But.
Or should it be BP? Is it BPE now? Is it before the podcast era?
Before the podcast era? Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
But hey, man, regardless, all that to say, welcome into another episode of Totem Talks. This is season 8, episode 6. And things are getting dangerous in these parts.
They are.
This is truly the most dangerous episode we've covered so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say in terms of total deaths caused.
Probably. Honestly, probably.
It's got to be, right?
At least my band for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I meant. I mean, like mine, I guess, could occasionally get a few people. Well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Yours has definitely killed the most people ever.
Yeah, which honestly, that's impressive.
It is.
Now, before we get too far in, if you're new to Totem Talks, welcome.
If Ice is listening, he didn't say foreign. We're not foreign. Please leave us alone. He said before we get too far in.
Yes, that is true. Before we get too far in to the episode.
It's dangerous to say those words together anymore.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But we are a music podcast. We have decided upon ourselves. We've taken the initiative to solve the most asked question in the history of music. And that is, what is the greatest musical act of all time? We have scoured the globe.
That's right.
And we have gone high and low to try our best to answer that question. Copious amounts of research and notes and debate and all of that to say we have no fucking idea.
No,
but
not at all.
The test is not over. We are still testing.
We could find out today.
We could find out today. We won't, but we could.
We won't, but yeah.
It's important to know that we could.
That's right.
Now, you're Nick, I'm Pat, we're Totem Talks. That's who we are, that's what we do. And we're going to cover 2 artists. But before we do, I have to show you something, Nick.
Okay. I wasn't ready.
Because my mother got me a present.
This wasn't in the script.
It wasn't. My mother got me a present.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, you and anybody who listens probably, but if not, you'll know now, you know that I solve and collect Rubik's Cubes.
Sure.
So like this is a normal Rubik's. Well, I won't show you the green side or the blue side. You can see the yellow.
The blue side was, it was doing some things.
Yeah. Well, the green side also is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Green and blue, ironically.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have known the difference.
My mother got me a Rubik's Cube.
Sure.
Because she loves me and is nice to me.
Yeah.
She hates me because she got me this Rubik's Cube.
Oh my.
Yeah, I don't know if you can quite see that. I mean, that is in my fingertips.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a quick comparison, just so everybody can see what I'm talking about. That is the Rubik's Cube that I got on a Rubik's Cube.
Oh my God.
Just had to show it off.
I appreciate that you showed the size comparison.
Yeah, I feel like you needed to grasp the difference in size.
Yeah, I did.
Because I do have
I
massive
needed
hands.
banana for scale.
And if I had a banana for scale, I would have given it to you. I could only give you a Rubik's Cube for scale.
And that sufficed.
Now, I guess all the important stuff out of the way.
Yeah, what bands are we covering?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. We're going to kick things off with the Airborne Toxic Event. And we're going to follow them up with Germs.
Yep.
So
that is pretty accurate. And that
Yeah.
is why this is the most dangerous episode
right.
in the history of the podcast.
Yeah, undeniably.
Cool. So I guess without any further ado, I'll take us into the Airborne Toxic Event. The Airborne Toxic Event is an American rock band from Los Angeles, California. And they were formed in 2006, and they are still active today. We covered 3 albums. We started with my favorite, the eponymous debut. Came out in 2008, the Airborne Toxic Event. Followed that up with All at Once from 2011. And then we wrapped it up with Glory from 2024. So
That's right.
honestly, first thing first, before you get into talking about it, good spread of music here.
Yeah.
As in, like, we've covered really beginning, a little closer to the beginning than the middle, but, you know, a good span all the way through.
Okay. So the Airborne Toxic Event. Everyone's going to know the one giant song. They never topped something that happens on this album. But aside from just the song, before I talk about it, I think this is a record that kind of has everything that you would expect from an indie rockish album of this time, but it's done well. Like, it's done very well. It's like a super intense emotionally in the performances and the lyrics. I really dig the sound of this album overall, even if it doesn't like make itself super distinct of the indie rock of the 2000s. And my reaction, I think, translates to most of the reviews, which this album was well reviewed, except for Pitchfork infamously gave it a 1.6 out of 10.
Okay.
For reasons that I can't fully comprehend. So Pitchfork likes to do that every once in a while. They'll take an album that everybody seems to generally like and be like, this was a 0.3.
It's almost like sometimes sensationalism sells.
Exactly. But the giant hits on here, Sometime Around Midnight.
Yeah.
That's the song. Like, and it's a great fucking song, man. It's a really great song. It's beautiful. It's beautifully performed. The emotion's perfect. The orchestral part to the song is perfectly done. I'll talk more about it later, obviously, because it's one of the best singles of the 2000s, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, I have nothing but positive things to say about this first album. It, you know, you pretty much said it all. It does, if I were to be critical, which I guess is my literal job on the podcast, it does feel a little bit average for the most part. You know, and you kind of mentioned that, like, it doesn't really set itself apart in the space of like indie.
Sure.
Like that, like, kind of post-punky indie space. It is an extremely melancholy album. And spoiler alert, a really melancholy band. I mean, wow, they do not make you feel happy.
No.
So
no, that's not what they're for. Who would have thought the Airborne Toxic Event wouldn't be a great happy thing?
Truly, if they had come out and been like a total like upbeat like Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack punk band, I would have understood. The name would have made just as much sense to me.
Definitely.
But really, honestly enjoyed it. But Sometime Around Midnight is far and away the best song on the album.
Yeah.
It's not even particularly close. And that song does, I think, set them apart.
Mhm.
I just wish like literally any other songs did as well, because
Sure.
they were all enjoyable.
Yeah, it was all good.
But it was like you gave me a bag of potato chips. They're fine, and then you gave me like a like delicious home cooked steak. I know not for you, but for
Yeah.
me that sounds great. And then back to chips after that. And I was like, but hold on, you've given me something great.
Yeah,
All right, so I'll move into
Mhm.
All at Once.
I get you.
And here's the thing, it's 3 years later and the album is fine. It's the same album. Same overall sound.
Mhm.
Minus I think you don't have that big difference making song either in success or in the actual like quality.
Mhm.
Because I think Sometime Around Midnight was both very successful and high quality.
Yeah.
And I think with this, you're getting, 11 tracks that are all good, but there's no real standout here.
Okay. Fair. You didn't know any of these tunes?
So here's the thing with this whole band. I literally don't know because every song sounds a little familiar, which
Okay.
means I've probably heard it around,
Mhm.
but I didn't have one that I just like knew cold.
Okay. I did, which
Okay.
was, I guess, their most successful single off this record, which is Changing.
Okay.
Um, that was definitely like on the radio back in the day when this
Sure.
was coming out. And I think that's also a really good tune. And I think this album mostly leaves off where the first one left us in terms of their sound, in terms of the song quality from song to song. I think Changing is a really good tune. But mostly it's all just like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, I
enjoying
don't
it. Like
dislike
I don't
anything
just
on
right.
there.
They maybe leaned into the acoustic guitar a little bit more on a handful of songs. Um, there was a nice little transition on the second half of this record. The Kids Are Ready to Die. The song kind of bleeds into Welcome to Your Wedding Day. And I always appreciate when there's a little bit of continuity between tracks on an album that kind of, go together. Um, I think the last two things I'll bring up regarding this album, but like that apply to the band in general, is Michael Gillette, who's the primary vocals, guitar, keyboard, songwriter guy, has a really emotional, if not like classically great sing scream. He has one that like just really works for them as a band because of the emotion behind it. I think it
Yeah,
and he doesn't do it very often. So when he does, it's just like, yeah, that's right.
not overdone, but
Yeah.
when it's done, it's done
Perfectly
well.
tasteful. And then they also very commonly work with a group called the Calder Quartet, who does a lot of their string arrangements.
Yeah,
And All I Ever Wanted near the end is a great example of them working together. But it's good to acknowledge the Calder Quartet because there is a lot of string stuff going on, not on every song, but like on enough that this is a band that really likes to use those arrangements.
sure.
So then we go to Glory. From 2020. And, you know, this one wasn't grabbing me as much early. I was like, I saw the nod to Bruce Springsteen with Our Own Thunder Road. It's like, okay, that's nice. And I was like, I don't hate it though. It's maybe the third of three. It's just like kind of everything it hasn't evolved enough that I, you know, feel compelled to keep on going with this group. But I did think the B side was better, and I started out kind of hoping for a little bit more change because we had a larger time jump here, like or it was 2024, so we had
Yeah.
13 years. I was hoping to hear a little bit more growth as songwriters from the band. And it wasn't there, but like I said, the second half of it I think was definitely stronger. So I started out like meh on it, and then by the end I was like, okay, no, maybe I would try this one again because I think there's enough there on the second half. This could be a good record.
Yeah, so I do feel very similar. I liked the nod to Bruce
Sure, why not?
because it was it wasn't just the title or lyrically, like sonically, it felt like a Bruce Springsteen song, which I thought was very interesting. It was different than they'd been doing, but at the same time, it did sound like them. So it was a good mix of
Sure, I go. What you're
influence meets like what we actually do, our
Yeah.
actual sound. And this, I mean, this album was fine. It was the third of three for me.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I really did like the title track though, which I guess does coincide with your opinion because it is later on in the album. So it's like second to last song, I think it is.
Yeah,
So it's interesting. I thought that was a standout track, but nothing here like held itself up to that standard of the first two or had a song anywhere near Sometime Around
yeah.
Midnight.
Well, that's
So an enjoyable listen, but I also think that it was the third of three, and maybe they're just a little bit comfortable in their space, I think.
okay. Yeah,
So maybe there's not really a lot of innovation happening, at least on this
Yeah.
album. Obviously, there's a gap.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk facts. I'm going to start with the unique thing, which is how they promoted their first album.
Okay.
And it's really interesting because so they basically timed out the number of tracks, and that many weeks ahead of time, they started like going around LA and recording like one take acoustic versions of each song in different locations throughout the city. And they would release them each week, like in the order of the album. So everyone would have had the chance to hear an acoustic version of what each song sounded like. And then the
Interesting.
last one was released as the album was released.
I like that.
Yeah, it was very interesting and different. So I had to give them a nod there. I mean, the highlights obviously Sometime Around Midnight. I couldn't even think of what else. I mean, it's been it was a top song for iTunes, named it the number one single, alternative single of the year 2008. It went gold, so it's like their one thing that has certified in a way. Obviously, it's like well loved and critically acclaimed and successful. So the other thing, though, is, and this might eclipse it. So I put that one out first because I think this might be better. In 2006, so this is even before they released their first album,
Yeah.
Rolling Stone actually named them one of the top 25 bands on MySpace.
Okay.
So
Crazy that Rolling Stone was making top MySpace band lists.
I love it though.
I
Okay.
mean, we'll give it to them. That's crazy.
Now their low light also comes in 2006, unfortunately.
Oh,
but we
rough
can
year.
see how they might be related. So this is Michael Gillette. He just had like a real bad 2006, like all in March of that year. He broke up with his girlfriend at the time. His mom
Rough.
was diagnosed with cancer, and
Jesus.
he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that led to him having alopecia areata and vitiligo.
All in March of 2006.
Correct.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's a really, that's like horrible. Wouldn't wish
That's a
that on.
brutal turn of events.
It is, but like that March was also the catalyst for him starting to like write a ton of songs, and
He
it
needed
was
the
like
outlet.
a big creative trigger for him.
Would also explain why this band is very melancholy.
Yeah, oh, totally. And like Sometime Around Midnight, like it's based on a true story. Essentially, the band was playing, and like at a gig, one of his exes was there, and he realized that talking to her after the show that he was still in love with her, and that's where the whole story of the song comes from. So it is his reality. So
Interesting.
yeah, mean. Here is the meanest thing. On January 22nd of the year 2014, the band announced that their bassist, Noah Harmon, would be taking paternity leave. And they like released who his replacement would be on that current tour and who was going to be playing bass with them. But then by August of that year, he revealed that he had actually just been fired from the band and was just like, okay, yep, I've been fired. So good luck, everybody. And there was just like no like I tried to read some fan articles and stuff like that and blogs to try to find out if anyone knew why.
What?
And they were just like, nope, we never found out. It's just like he was on maternity leave, and then they were like, yep, nope, get out. You're
That's
done.
actually crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange that I don't know what happened on that tour, but that led them to just decide to not let him come back after paternity leave. But that was a thing, and that seemed mean.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. For Nice though, they have been involved in some charity work. They released a song called Netta. I think it's pronounced Netta.
Okay.
But that started an online charity campaign with NEDA, which is the National Eating Disorder Association. So the song was, I think, supposed to be in reference to the acronym, but it's like spelled with the lowercase letters.
Yeah.
So that was like a charity single. And then they've also played festivals for the radio station KFOG. They do a concert for kids that benefits children's hospitals that they've also been a part of. So they do some charity stuff. Now,
Okay.
6 Degrees. This is where it gets interesting. So the band's name, if you're not familiar, comes from a 1985 Don DeLillo book called White Noise, which is a book
Okay.
that I have read and I enjoy very much. In that book, one section of it is called the Airborne Toxic Event. What I found out researching this band and looking at that connection is they actually made a movie of White Noise in 2022. And one of the people who stars in that movie is a man named Andre Benjamin, better known as Andre 3000, who we heard featured on several songs from Gwen Stefani's album Love Angel Music Baby.
Okay. You know what? Okay.
But now hear me out. So I just it's not related, but I can't not talk about it because we're talking
Sure.
about White Noise because that's where the band's name comes from.
Yeah.
So in the actual book and the movie, the Airborne Toxic Event, it's like a train car. There's an accident where a train car gets knocked over, it crashes, and it leaks toxic chemicals into the air that forces everyone in the town to seek shelter, go to an emergency shelter, evacuate. That sound familiar to you? Anytime in the last few years
Yeah.
where a train crashed and there was a crazy thing?
Yeah, no,
Where
that does sound pretty
sounds
familiar to
vaguely
me.
familiar to you, right? Do you remember where it happened?
No,
Okay. You'll
I can't
remember when
remember
I
now.
say it out loud, it'll ring a bell. So
Yeah.
remember East Palestine, Ohio?
Oh, yeah.
Pat, that was in 2023. The
Yeah.
movie came out in 2022. And do you know where this movie, where a train crashes and there's an
No.
airborne toxic event, was fucking filmed?
You're kidding, right?
Because it was in East Palestine, Ohio. And not only was it filmed in the same exact town where this real life thing actually happened a year later, but several of the people who live there who had to be evacuated work as extras in the film.
Yo, that's weird. We live in a simulation. I don't know what else to say. That's freaky.
Right? How did that happen? The book was definitely clearly set in a place in Ohio. It was college on a hill or something weird like that.
Wow.
But
Okay.
it was filmed in East Palestine, and then that same thing happened a year after the film came out.
That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. When I started reading about it, I was like, well, this doesn't exactly have anything to do with the band, but I can't not talk about it.
No, you have to. I mean, that's ridiculous. What we need to do now is we need to make a movie where we each win the lottery in consecutive drawings.
I agree. That's a good idea.
And let's hope that we can get some of that magic.
Yeah.
But for a good reason and not a train crash.
Ideally. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's everything I have to say. So I think it's time for us to get germs.
Ridiculous. That's crazy.
I told you that it was going to be
yeah,
just totally dumbfounding.
interesting. It's like
Yeah.
Back to the Future. Slowly fading away. Although, please take most things, but don't take my water bottle.
Agreed.
Too important to me. All right. I mean, not a lot to get up here.
All right. Germs time. Do you think the album is named after the tract where many germs exist?
I mean, I do think that.
I think so too.
I do absolutely think that. Oh, did you know Michael Gillette was raised in an experimental commune society?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did read about that.
Until
Yeah,
he
and
was
he had to,
5, he and his brother were raised apart from their parents.
Yeah, it's like a whole weird story. I forgot to get into that because I got distracted by the fucking train accident.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. When the commune became violent, his mother took him.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cannoli.
Yeah, it's some weird shit.
All right. Either way. That's crazy. That's wild stuff. All right.
Everything is crazy.
Everything is truly crazy.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. I, too, am having been ready.
3, 2, 1.
Germs were an American punk rock band formed also in Los Angeles, California. So both from LA. Didn't know that.
Love it.
However, different timing. So this band was active from 1976 to 1980, and then in other forms from 2005 to 2009, and then again in 2013. But we're mostly going to be talking about the 1976 to 1980 version. Who released one album, and that's what we're covering. We're covering the album G.I., which was released in 1979.
That's right.
And that's about it. That's all we've got.
That's it.
And this is my band, so I will go. Listen, okay? I'm not talking to you, Nick. I'm talking to the audience.
Yeah, no,
here.
I know.
You all know me by now. This is season 8. This isn't the first episode. If this is the first episode you're watching, congratulations. You're about to learn something about me. I don't like this genre of music 90% of the time. It's that like hardcore wall of soundish punk yelly stuff, which I understand the desire to express yourself in certain ways, but this isn't good, and I didn't enjoy it. All that being said, if you are the kind of person who enjoys like go fuck yourself punk, I mean, it's the best way I can say it, you might enjoy this. I don't dislike certain aspects of punk when it's like, I think punk could be a real like positive at times when you basically are telling everybody like similar to like old school folk, like fuck authority.
Yeah, sure.
Like all that, which punk can do very well. There's no nuance to it. It's not like, with old school folk, like we were just listening to Phil Oakes before we went live. It was very much like a smile at your face as I call you an asshole, and you're laughing and dancing as you don't get it. That doesn't happen in most punk. You're just getting called an asshole and you know what's happening, which is why people revolt against the punk movement. But just musically, it's not good. I mean, realistically, musically, it's not good. And musically, this is not good, with the pure exception of Pat Smear and the fact that I could hear enough guitar from him where I'm like, oh, there's actually good guitar happening sometimes, but not enough of the time.
Yeah, definitely not.
And that's truly the best thing I can say. It's not good. It doesn't sound good. The singing's not good. Yeah, that's about it. I don't have too much to say.
Yeah, look, I agree with all that, so I'll make this simple. I liked some of the things that you liked in terms of the music overall isn't so distorted that you can't hear guitar parts at times,
Yeah.
and it's not written in such a way that there's no attempt to throw in a riff every once. Like Pat Smear does do some stuff. Like there's occasional riffs and songs that make it a little bit more listenable. Um, Everything else kind of gets drowned out though. Like I couldn't hear the bass really.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand anything that the singer was saying the whole time. Just terrible diction. But like still it's not the most extreme type of punk that I really would hate.
Yeah.
Like I can hear that like hardcore screaming punk that's just like way beyond anything I could listen to. But I can also hear like the Ramones still in there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like this album exists somewhere on the continuum between the Ramones and just like detuned guitars and basses that no one knows how to play being smashed into a distortion pedal. It's, it exists between there.
Yeah.
Um,
No, listen, I totally get what you're saying.
And here's the last thing. Why? I mean, there were 10 tracks on side 1, and then it ended on a 10-minute long song. And it's very strange to me. And it wasn't like the 10-minute long song was something totally different. It was just like the same minute and a half long songs they'd been playing dragged out for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was not good. I didn't like this album. I would give it an F. I will never listen to it again.
Sure. Listen, I'm with you 100% on that. Now, I'm going to get into my notes, but I have to say the biggest thing that really blew my mind when I looked at this band, I just besmirched the singing, which rest in peace to Darby Crash. We'll talk
Sure.
more about that. Nothing against him as a person, just the vocals weren't good.
Right.
But like literally in this fucking band, you had Belinda Carlisle, who is the lead vocalist of the Go-Go's.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Under the pseudonym of Dottie Danger. That was Belinda Carlisle.
Dottie Danger, when was she in the band? Was she on this record?
That I'm not 100% sure about.
Okay, I don't think she was on this record.
She probably wasn't on this record because that would have been insane, and then I would have been really raging against the fact that this existed. But Dottie Danger was a pseudonym of Belinda Carlisle, and she was a member of this band.
I think wasn't she roommates with Lorna Doom or something?
Yeah, I think you're correct.
In college or something like that.
I do believe you are correct.
Which is a great name, by the way. If you're going to take on a pseudonym and it's Lorna Doom, I love it.
Well, yeah. So just real quick, looking it up, in 1976, Dottie Danger played the drums. So she played before this album. She left the band and was replaced.
Good
so crazy stuff.
Huh.
But the unique thing about this band, I actually had 2.
Okay.
The first one is very interesting. So I mentioned that Darby Crash passed away. In 2005, there was a film called What We Do Is Secret.
And did everything that happened in that film also happen in real life in the same exact place 1 year later?
No.
Oh.
But the film What We Do Is Secret, it was a biographical film. And Shane West, the actor, played Darby Crash. At the wrap party for the movie, he got up and performed with Pat Smear, Lorna Doom, and Bowles, the drummer. And they liked him so much, they reunited and toured worldwide.
Wow.
That's the Germs.
That's fascinating.
Including in 2006 and 2008, they played Warped Tour. They literally were like, you know what? This is like, you played Darby and then you came up here and you this went really well. Let's just do it. And they did it. And that's so
really
weird.
Interesting.
So I thought that was pretty unique. And then the other unique thing, because again, this is just something I had to talk about. So Darby Crash and Pat Smear decided to start a band together
Makes
after they got kicked out of high school. They got kicked out of university high school for antisocial behavior, which was allegedly they were using mind control on their fellow students to the point where they got expelled from school. And all
Well,
I
that
can
was-
say is, what?
I think that was via like giving them LSD.
Yeah, but like
But
ridiculous
hilarious.
stuff. But I also love the original name of the band, which was Sophistifuck and the Revlon Spam Queens.
Why didn't they stick with that?
I'll tell you why, Nick, because they couldn't print it. It was too long to fit on shirts. And that's the only
Okay.
reason. So they changed to the germs and then just
Makes
germs.
sense. Yeah, they really
Yeah.
consolidated.
So those are the unique things. I truly did not have a highlight. I'm sorry. I couldn't. The album wasn't particularly successful. It was what it was. The band disbanded shortly afterwards because of Darby's suicide, which is the low light that we'll get into here. So the low light here is on now. Tell me if this date sounds familiar to you at all, Nick.
Okay.
On December 7th, 1980, Darby Crash committed suicide via heroin overdose.
Okay.
Like a purposeful heroin overdose.
Right.
And in fact, he was actually in a like a suicide pact with somebody named Casey Hopkins, nicknamed Cola, who ended up surviving the overdose.
Oh.
Now, I asked you if the date sounds familiar to you at all, Nick, because the next day,
John Lennon got shot?
John Lennon got shot. And so nobody was talking about Darby Crash
Yeah.
the next day.
Right.
So his death was like extremely overshadowed by the murder of
Huh.
John Lennon.
Yeah.
But I mean, the low light for the band is like obviously Darby killing himself.
Mhm.
And it's very sad because about I don't know the exact timeline. It wasn't really clear, but a little bit before this happened, Crash reached out to Pat Smear about like doing a reunion show of Germs, claiming it was quote unquote necessary to put punk into perspective. But privately, Crash told Smear it was just to get money for heroin so he could get enough to commit suicide, which Pat Smear didn't believe because for years Darby had been making jokes about that, which
Yeah.
also I mean that's our relationship, so you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Not about heroin,
promise.
but we make those jokes often.
Yeah, that's our relationship is not that we do a bunch of heroin.
No, we do none actually.
I was going to say a modest amount.
No, we have too many. Our teeth are too nice to have done heroin, I think.
That's a great point.
No offense to people who do heroin. I just know that it really wrecks your teeth.
A lot of
Although I
drugs
guess
do.
some offense if you do heroin. Like maybe don't do heroin. I'll be honest with you.
I mean, it's not ideal.
Listen, I rarely make sweeping proclamations on this podcast.
Mhm.
We at Totem Talks do not support doing heroin and don't want you to do it.
No, but we don't condemn you if you do.
No, I
We're
won't
here for you.
condemn. There are a few things that I will condemn someone for. Addiction is a disease.
Yes.
It's whatever. Regard, we're not going to get into all that right now.
No, we don't need to.
But like Pat Smear did not take Darby seriously because he joked around about doing that so often, but he did it. Like that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to, I don't have anything for nicest. Meanest, this one's a little interesting because it's all stemming around Darby Crash again.
Okay.
So Darby had been like really, really not vibing with Don Bowles
Okay.
for a long time, apparently during the run of this band. And eventually he just kicked him out of the band with no pomp and circumstance. He just fired him and replaced him with his friend and lover, Rob Henley, who was also a heroin addict. And that kind of spelled the end of the band.
Yeah.
And then
I
right
mean, just
after,
looking at their former members page, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other drummers in this band over the course of 5 years.
including Belinda Carlisle.
And someone whose stage name was Donna Rhea.
Yep. Which, hey, I
And
love it.
someone else whose name was Dinky.
But yeah, so just thought that was interesting. Pat Smear and Darby Crash did form a like kind of split off band called the Darby Crash Band,
Okay.
which, you know, was, according to Pat Smear, the Germs with worse players. That's how he described it.
Yikes.
But you'd be surprised to know that the drummer for a band called the Circle Jerks, Lucky Lehrer,
Okay.
joined the band on the eve of their first ever show, which was a sold out performance because Darby Crash fired the drummer during sound check. So
Jesus.
the man just hated drums and hated all drummers, apparently.
Yeah, really. I mean, the amount of drummers they went through.
Yeah, it's just impossible to if you are a drummer, you would never appease Darby Crash, apparently.
Fascinating.
So
Okay.
just thought that was an interesting factoid there. And then I guess we'll move into 6 Degrees. The very obvious one is Pat Smear is in this band, and we've covered Pat Smear in multiple
At least
forms.
2 other times.
So
maybe
we covered
3.
him as a member of Nirvana and then Foo Fighters.
Yeah, and then I think he also played on a handful of other records in the 90s. Maybe he played on some Alice in Chains tunes.
Yeah, we've covered him multiple times.
Yeah.
However, there is another little 6 Degrees of Totem Talks here, and that is that their only album, GI, was produced by Joan Jett.
That's right.
So that's what I got for Germs.
I loved every second of it. I guess we should just grade everyone.
I think we should.
Okay, well, let's start with cultural impact, and we'll start with the Airborne Toxic event. And hey, man, I knew a second song.
Yeah, you did. And realistically, talking about Airborne Toxic event, there is a little bit here.
Okay.
So, I mean, their songs were in video games. I know there was at least a couple songs in like a FIFA game and a Band Hero, and
Yeah, they got.
they were around that kind of world,
For
and
sure.
they do have a very successful hit, a gold hit.
Mm-hmm.
None of that screaming high
so like
numbers.
A 1 point.
Yeah,
I don't know, 4.
I was gonna say a 1.4. I think that's a good
love it.
score.
Germs. 10.
It's not a 10,
Okay.
but I do think it's
there's-
more. It's more than like a 0.1.
Yeah, there's influence to be had here.
Yeah, there is like truly. This band had 2 like known people in it. Like Pat Smear is a known musician,
For
and
sure.
so is Belinda Carlisle.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't there.
It's
for
just-
the,
I
yeah.
know I'm not giving them a ton of points for that, but it's so interesting that Belinda Carlisle was in this group. Like, and then she went on to be in the Go-Go's. Like, what? Anyway,
Yeah, that is bizarre.
it's very bizarre. It's
So-
very bizarre, but I think we're probably still talking in the points here. I don't think they get
That's
up to
fine.
a 1, but I think I would maybe give them like a 0.4, 0.5.
I'll give him the 0.5.
Like
generous.
anybody who's a musician, like who, especially if you're a guitarist, like
Mhm.
if you know Pat Smear and
Which
you
you
follow
probably do.
Pat Smear, you've probably heard of this band because
Yeah,
you'll have followed his work. And I think with that coupled with a very public, like, you know, it did immediately get overshadowed by John Lennon, but when Darby Crash died, like it was news. It was headline news at the time. He was 22 years old. He died in a suicide pact, in a heroin suicide
Yeah.
pact.
yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. Also, like real brutal because like he obviously planned it all out, and then like the other person didn't die. That's super awkward.
That is
Like I'm glad there wasn't 2 deaths. Like needless
Yeah.
death is very, you know, it's no bueno to be like to say it, but like Just crazy stuff.
I agree. So, breadth of work. Airborne Toxic Event has 7 albums, so they're going to start with a 5.2 here. I think they are going to lose a little because the only certification or sales I could find was the gold for sometime around midnight. So they don't lose as much as they could if they didn't have any gold, but they lose a little, maybe back down to 5.
I think that's a good spot. Start them at a 5.
I'm going to give them 0.2. I'm going to give them 0.1 for each of the first 2 albums, but like a 0.1 and change for the first album and a little under a 0.1 for the second.
Yeah, and I'll give them a 0.1. And that's really just for sometime around midnight. I thought the rest of it was good, but not enough that I'm adding points.
Fair enough. Germs have one studio album, and they will be starting with a 0.8. There are also no sales to speak of that I'm aware of, so they're going to have to lose a chunk of that.
Yeah, let's start them at a 0.5 because we're generous.
Okay. Now, how many points would you like to give them for quality?
I would like to give them -2 points.
That's very kind. And look, I can't give them more than -2 points because that they're already down to the bare minimum of
a 0.1.
0.1. So like that's where they're just gonna have to live.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Instrumental talent. Airborne Toxic Event, I think won between the 2 of them.
Yeah. Which is crazy because if you asked me to say who's the best musician out of both of these bands, it's not a member of the Airborne Toxic Event.
Sure, I get that.
But in the recording of this band, it certainly is.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Airborne Toxic Event, I think, is at best average. Even the vocals, which I think really, really work for their sound, aren't great.
Yeah, they just
like
fit.
This is a band that tops out at about a 5 for me.
I think that's fair. I think a 5 works. There's nothing, and I don't mean this as an insult, but there's nothing special. You know, and sometimes there's just not. Sometimes there's nothing special, but they take what they've got and they make it work.
Germs is below average.
Yeah, Nick.
Germs is like below average.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like I said, I mean, I was praising being able to hear some things happening on guitar. Nothing crazy. I mean, even that alone, I would probably put under the 5, and everything else. Like I don't even think I heard a single bass note on the whole album. I'm sure it was in there somewhere, but I couldn't even hear it. The vocals I couldn't understand. It was all bad. It's bad. Like this is a bad score.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean, but like this
it's bad. Which is just crazy because again, I know I've harped on this. I know I have. But if I were to tell you, Nick, hey, Nick, I have this cool band that I found, and the lead guitarist is Pat Smear, and then also in the band is Belinda Carlisle.
I would be fascinated.
I'd be like, hey, this is worth checking out, right? And then if you were to find, and you're not going to find any tracks with Belinda Carlisle on them, but if you did, you would just hear wall of noise punk.
Yeah, it's just
crazy.
I'm in like the ones.
Yeah, you certainly are in the ones. I mean, that's a good spot to be. Is it a 1?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Okay. Songwriting. This is, I think, the greatest strength of the Airborne Toxic Event. I don't think there's enough that like difference between their songs and their albums, or between their albums and themselves, that this is a super high number or anything. But I think clearly, like, writing good indie rock songs and partnering with like a string quartet to do that is where this band's bread and butter is. Like,
yeah,
I would be okay with like a score in the vicinity of 6 here.
Yeah, I was thinking like in the upper 5, so I'm fine with like maybe like a 5.8. How do you feel about that?
I think that's wonderful.
Cool.
And then that brings us to Germs, who starts with a 0.8 because they only have one album. And I got to tell you, the songs were not good.
They
The songs are
were
not well
not.
written.
They were not.
No, I'm really low again.
Mm.
I don't know how not to be really low on the songwriting. Like, it's got to come down.
It's got to come down. 0.8's too high. Do we go, 0.3? Do we take away a whole half point?
I'm going to give him a 0.4 because I feel bad
I
for
love
where
it.
this is going.
I love it.
And then Poetic Talent. I think this is the other strength of the Airborne Toxic event.
Yeah.
There are times when it maybe borders a little bit on like over the top, but it's mostly definitely better than average.
It is definitely above average, but you are correct. It does sometimes get like there are some times in the listening of these albums where I was just like, dude, just go like look at the sun. Go like look at a sunrise. Go get a little bit of dopamine, please.
Yeah.
Like it just it just felt a little too melancholy at times in the songwriting and in the lyrics. Like it felt like maybe you're not getting a full picture of the band or the artist or who's writing it.
Right.
Which I think that's some of my favorite songwriting, especially throughout a discography, is when I feel like I am looking through a lens into your life as you're writing it. Whether or not I am, it could be total bullshit.
Of course.
Like there are some songs that are totally made up. But if the quality of your songwriting makes me feel like I'm looking into a lens of your life, I really value that as a songwriter. And I really think that like that's a strength. And I think they do a good job of it, but like, dude, write some happy songs, please.
Look, I'm in a similar place for where I was for songwriting. I'm probably like a 5.7.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot.
Here's the thing about Germs, though. They're starting from a 0.8, and I don't think it's getting better from there.
I also don't think it's getting better from there.
It wasn't good. Like nothing about this was good.
It wasn't. The only thing I can say is like generally based on the way I know I agree with a lot of the ideals of punk music.
Sure, yeah, but
so like I appreciate that you were writing about stuff that I agree with personally, but like it wasn't done particularly well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this is all about. Do we give him the 0.3 this time, or
no? I think the lyrics were better than the music.
Okay, you want to give him a 0.5?
Yeah,
okay.
The lyrics are better than the music for the sheer fact that like it wasn't just like screaming in my face.
Yeah, it was a little better than that.
I mean,
I couldn't understand it, but look, that gives us a final score.
Oh, no X Factor for either artist?
I just went ahead and made that executive decision.
That's fine. I mean, the only X Factor would be like, imagine your Darby crash and like you go through with the darkest time of your life.
We have done that before.
And then you immediately get overshadowed by John Lennon's death.
I'm going to give him 0.2.
Great. I truly, that's so crazy. That's so like the whole thing is crazy. Also, you're not going to give any points for that weird movie thing?
I don't know. I felt like it didn't have anything to do with the band, really.
But that's X Factor. The fact that that's weird. I don't know. That's weird.
They were named after a portion of the book.
All right, fine. But it's still weird.
It's still the weirdest coincidence I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, that's freaky, man.
It is genuinely freaky. Okay, but I do have final scores. So winning this week with a score of 23.2 is the Airborne Toxic event.
I'm really nervous for what's coming, dude. I feel like it's going to be the worst we've had.
And not winning this week.
Oh my god!
With what is probably the lowest score in Totem Talk's history is Germs with a 2.7.
A 2? No. A 2.7?
A 2.7.
Oh, there's nobody beating that.
I think they've just solidified worst score of all time for at least the foreseeable future. At 2
Who could even be? How do you get worse than that?
You have to also be like a really bad band whose one album we hate, who never had any hits or fame. There are other bands that I'm sure only put out one album and had no hits or fame. So it would just
Wow.
be a matter of whether or not they are worse than Germs to us.
That's actually crazy.
It's
Okay.
I didn't think we were ever going to see a sub 3 score.
Me neither.
Or a
I
band
think
that
that's
scored 23 win by 20.
yeah. Truly that's crazy to me.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, hey, for on the plus side of Germs, multiple members of your band have gone on to far and away exceed that score.
Bigger and better things.
I mean, we have not covered the Go-Go's on this group, but I can guarantee they'll score more than a 2.7.
I would have to agree. Just because I know more than one of their songs. That alone will get you there. So look, we each talked about a movie today. So I just want to use that to prepare us for our next episode, which will involve artists very well known for their movie soundtrack songs of the 1980s.
Interesting. Okay. Well, listen, that does it for us here at Totem Talks. We unfortunately just did not find the greatest musical act of all time this week, but
we did find the worst that we found so far.
we literally
found the worst we've ever found.
I feel so bad.
Yeah.
I really do. That's crazy. That's crazy
wild
stuff. Listen,
I think the previous record was 6.66.
I was about to say, I think it was the Red
Devils.
The Red Devils. Yeah.
And they've gone like less than half of that. Less than half of the previous lowest score.
Well, because the Red Devils, we liked the music. It was just
Sub
one
3 is
album
insane.
that disappeared forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy stuff, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Woo. What a day.
Yeah, what a day indeed. Either way, listen, do yourselves a favor. Go listen to something else. Go listen to other music.
Yeah.
And have a great day.
And fuck Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, fuck that guy. And let Little Richard watch.
Oh man.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah, I never thought we were gonna go sub 3.
Yeah.
It didn't even
same.
feel like it was on the table.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's see.
2.7.
Oh my God. Shane West is the guy from A Walk to Remember.
I don't think I've seen it. Let's see.
Is that-
Pavement got an 8 from us. So he like
wow, we love Pavement in comparison.
Pavement tripled their score.
Well, because Pavement at least had more than one album.
That and we're more famous, whether we like it or not. Yeah, I'm just looking to see anyone who was sub 10. Red Devils got 6.66.
Selena Gomez was low, right? I can't
She
remember.
got
how
an
low she was.
11.4.
Yeah, I was like, she was in that area.
Yeah, but not that's okay. So we've had 3. I'm going to count how many have been. Okay, an 8.7 for the Penguins. A 7.9 for Animal Collective. So far we have 5 bands total that have gone sub 10. And the lowest one still doubled Germs. A 9.3 for Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. Okay, and that's the first 4 seasons.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list to see. Do I not have the...
I mean, so far, I'm only looking at... Okay, Lindsay Lohan had an 8.1. That's 7 artists. Okay, an 8.6 for Question Mark and the Mysterians. Okay, so 8 artists in the history of Totem Talks have gone sub 10. None of them have gone sub 6.
Yeah, I was
Except
about to
for
say
Germs, which went sub
6.66
3.
is the worst we've had. And it was the Red Devils.
Everyone else who went sub 10 was in the 8s and 9s.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
Well,
this is groundbreaking episode.
Yeah, a score we will probably never touch again.
No way. I mean, I'm really gonna have to Low Totem would have to be on because we have 2 fucking albums and we know how to play instruments.
We would literally beat them. I don't know if we beat any other bands because we're gonna judge ourselves harshly.
Yeah, we'd be like 0.1 for cultural impact pretty easily. Breadth of work, we'd get 2 albums, 0 sales, lose the full 2.5.
Right. Sub 3 is insane. Sub 3 is insane.
Yeah,
and I literally said before we started I was going to be nice.
Yeah.
And I was.
He did say that.
I was nice.
I thought we were.
That's wild.
Yeah, I have no idea when it would be even possible for sub 3 to happen again. Because it will have to be another completely unknown band who only has 1 album. You have to be completely unknown, only 1 record. And we're really going to have to not like it at all.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but geez Louise.
All right, I just looked up a band from season 9 that I've never heard of just to see if they could be the next pop, but they have a lot of. Oh, interesting. No, okay, they have plenty of records. They'll be fine. I was looking at a band called the Orange Peels.
Let's see. Okay, here we go. I got the whole list now.
Okay.
This list goes up to season 7. So did you mention the Yugoslav Zebra?
Oh no, I forgot about the.
Yeah, they scored a 7.4.
Oh, I must have missed them. Okay.
The Trashmen. I don't know if you mentioned the Trashmen.
Good catch.
And 4 Non-Blondes, both with 8.6.
Okay. So more.
And then obviously Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, which compared to the Germs, we fucking loved Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. A 9.3.
Well, here's the thing: they had several albums and could play their instruments.
That's true. And they invented some to play.
Yeah, they did.
Tal Bachman with a 10.
Okay. Well, I mean, no one in Germs was Randy Bachman's son, so
that's a great point.
That really hurts.
Plus, I can sing a Tal Bachman song at the drop of a hat.
That's a great point.
I can the only Tal Bachman song, but I can
there are no others.
I don't think even Tal Bachman knows.
We had to listen to 3 full albums by him, and
crazy that they existed. Crazy that they existed. The old
Jesus and Mary Chain.
Yep. I like how I don't even have to tell you.
You just have to make static noises.
Yeah. And that was back in season 1, which shows you it really stuck with us.
Yeah, you're right.
Small pools. Oh my God.
Of course, pools.
Wow. Looking at the worst of the worst here.
It's a rough list.
Not all of them are the worst.
Some of them just didn't have albums.
Yeah. Like Eddie Cochran. I liked Eddie Cochran, but he scored low because there's 1 album and then he died.
Yeah. Right.
Similar to why this, well, no, it's not, but it didn't help.
Yeah.
Didn't help.
But had they released 3 or 4 albums, they would have at least gotten a 10-ish. But I mean,
I don't think so.
3 of their scores. Instead of starting from a 0.8, if 3 of their scores started from a 2.5 and went down, that's a couple more. They would have at least.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a 10 though. They'd still been a single digit band.
Okay, fair. But they would have been at least above the Red Devils, probably.
Yeah, they probably would not be the worst of all time.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. Seriously, because our highest is a 50.7.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking 48 points higher.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
which
rough.
Granted is the only time I'm going to compare the Beatles to Germs, but
They were both covered on this podcast. Comparison made.
Crazy stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna take a shower and have some dinner.
Cool, do that. I would
I'll see you there.
be careful about the order with which you do those things.
I'm gonna do them simultaneously. Thank you very much.
Hey,
And don't worry, little Richard will be there. He'll be watching.
good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, of course.
All right, man.
Adios.
Adios. All right, peeps. Thanks for hanging out. What a weird episode to find just weird coincidences and all that. So everybody enjoy the rest of your night. Go listen to music that you enjoy. Do something you like and have a great day.